Well, that's what we have you out there for, buddy. Thanks for reporting from the field, as always, out there in paranormal Washington State.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Michael.
All right, buddy. Have a great night, and be careful out there.
Yes, you have a good night, too. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.
All right. Wow, that was Vince in Zunza, and he is our local roving reporter for the paranormal news updates each week. And it was kind of strange but interesting, some of the news that he's got there. And, of course, the Yelm UFO Festival is about this time every year and just wrapping up this past weekend. So now, my next guest, I hope everyone is sitting back and grabbing your favorite beverage, kicking your shoes off, and just we're going to spend the next couple of hours with an amazing woman who is actually, she's an attorney. She is the author of The Splitting Image, a book with the subtitle Exposing the Secret World of Doubles, Decoys, and Imposter Replacements. And, of course, she has been researching this area of doubles and imposter replacements, but now focusing on the Beatle, Paul McCartney. All the way, so she's been doing this since 2008, her Paul McCartney book, and she has examined how doubles are used in psyops, counterintelligence, and military, and even in the entertainment industry. And she's working on this new book that we're going to talk to her about tonight. It's called Plastic Maca, The Secret Death and Replacement of Beatle Paul McCartney. So I am just excited to bring Tina Foster onto our show. Are you there, Tina?
I sure am. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for agreeing to join us here at Night Dreams Talk Radio and bring up
my
this.
Arm.
Yeah, that's right. You are a busy woman. I know that you're all over the place. As like I like to refer to you as the paranormal lawyer out there, right?
I'm the other paranormal lawyer.
Right.
We have our show on Monday night.
That's right. Tina Foster and I actually do have a separate show on Monday nights from 6 to 8 p.m., and you can find us on The Paranormal Lawyers on Facebook. That's a fantastic show. Or YouTube. Oh, yeah, because Tina makes sure we get on YouTube as well, just to get monetized, maybe. Who knows,
or demonetized, as the case may be. Because they're punishing the Paul is Dead information now. So,
well, I think you should be flattered that they are potentially demonetizing you because of this interesting book that you have been working on. Tell us how you initially got involved in researching about Paul McCartney.
Okay, well, I've been a Beatles fan since I was in high school. And, I came across the theory that Paul he had died and been imposter replaced before. But I didn't think that it could really be true. So, okay, fast forward a few years. I'm getting my LLM in 2008. And I came across a link, an LLM, okay, I'm getting a Master's of Law and Letters in Environmental Law and Animal Law at Lewis and Clark, because people probably don't know what an LLM is. Unless you're a lawyer, you don't know what an LLM is.
Right. As a matter of fact, let me explain to the folks out there that Tina Foster has also got her BA in Germanic Studies. Am I correct?
Yeah, BA and MA, so Masters in Germanic Studies too, plus a JD and an LLM. So two law degrees.
And then you've got your law degree, which is enough stress right there. But then you go on to get your graduate law degree. Way to go, Tina.
Yeah, I'm a masochist.
Yeah.
A glutton for punishment.
An educational glutton for punishment, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so keep going with your story about how you got involved with Paul McCartney.
Yeah, so this is actually August 1st, 2008. I remember exactly. And I don't even remember what I was researching, but I came across a link to Sun King's, probably like Digilander website on how Paul was killed and replaced. And I was like, oh, this couldn't possibly be true. But I'll just have a look for, a couple of minutes or whatever, and then I'll get back to whatever I was on. Well, I fell down that rabbit hole, and 10 years later, here I am talking on the radio about my book. I'm writing about how Paul McCartney was killed and replaced. So.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
And so during that study process, research process, you actually came up with not only the idea that Paul McCartney was replaced with imposters, but that this imposter replacement is being used for other famous figures, right?
Right. So when I first came across the link to Sun King's webpage, I spent about 2 full days really comparing and contrasting pictures of Paul versus the fake McCartney. And honestly, there's some sort of weird brainwashing or conditioning that's gone on, because it was like I had to break through that conditioning before I could see the differences. But once I saw them, it was dead obvious. It's really creepy. It's almost like a Pavlovian conditioned response that they've created in people. So I showed pictures of the fake McCartney with the name Paul McCartney next to it, and people learn to associate him with Paul McCartney, even though they're 2 totally different people. And that's been proven by forensic science. So, but when I first started researching Paul is Dead, that was before the forensic scientists came out with their findings. So I was kind of just going off of my own impressions. And it's funny because my mother is an artist, and I showed her pictures, and she's like, that's not the same person. Like, she saw it right away. But then
oh, my gosh.
But, the implications of what happened, that they actually, in my opinion, murdered and replaced him, that is pretty scary for a lot of people. And, my mother backed off. She's like, oh, well, that couldn't be true, because that's pretty serious, like that there are actually people that could pull that off. But now she's like, yeah, okay, they're different people. But you know what? They wouldn't dare to argue with me anyway, because they know my position on the whole thing. Like, if you don't see it, then you're persona non grata. So.
Yeah. Well, that is fascinating. The fact that your mother initially saw this in with her own eyes and kind of brought it up to you, probably as a young girl, and then you picked up from your mother's intuition and had your own kind of thoughts about younger Paul.
Well, actually, what happened was back in 2008 when I first started researching it, I was looking at a lot of pictures, and I was still a little bit on the fence. And she's like, "That's not the same person, is it?" And I was like, "It's not, is it?" And then she kind of backed off because it scared her. Like, the implications are scary if you think about like who's behind it. But I'll jump down any rabbit hole. It doesn't scare me. It's just a part of life. It's like, okay, I want to know what is happening. And like you said, there are other people that it's happened to.
Yes, as a matter of fact, can you mention a few of those other folks that might be in your first book about imposter replacements?
Yeah, so the splitting image was written solely as an introduction to this plastic mecha book, because so many people are like, well, how could they possibly do this? And it's like, well, there's a history since the Middle Ages of pulling off psyops like this. These people are not amateurs. They know exactly what they're doing. They know how to find the talent. They know how to train it. They know how to manipulate the media. I mean, these are sophisticated psychological operations. And so my first book was really detailing, well, how do they find somebody? Well, for example, Bernard Montgomery, General Bernard Montgomery, Monty, as they called him, his famous double was found. He was an actor, and somebody at MI5 saw his picture in a newspaper, and he was like, oh my God, that looks like General Montgomery. We must have him. So they got him. He was already an actor, so it was pretty easy to have him learn how to mimic General Montgomery. You know, he had to quit smoking because that would have been a dead giveaway because General Montgomery did not smoke. So this guy's name was Emmy Clifton James, the actor, and he had lost a finger in the First World War. So they actually made a prosthetic middle finger for him, and he spent time, you know, shadowing Monty or whatever, learning how to be Monty, learning all of his mannerisms. So then MI5, they sent him to North Africa, like Algeria, Egypt, I don't know. And he was spreading this disinformation about this Plan 303 to invade France. The Allies were going to invade France from the south, and so that the Germans would hear this disinformation and they plan accordingly. But of course, we know that the Allies were really intending to invade at Normandy in the north. So another potential, well, that was not an imposter replacement. That was just an example of a famous double documented historically. I mean, this is like a known entity.
And the purpose for him being a double was what in that case?
Well, to spread disinformation. So they wanted the Axis powers to think that the Allies were going to invade France from the south, when really they were going to invade in the north at Normandy. So this guy went around North Africa pretending to be Monty, looked exactly like Monty. I mean, you can't tell the difference. And, of course, he was an actor, so he had all of the mannerisms down. Went around North Africa talking about this Plan 303. The German spies are hearing it and then telling their, leaders that the Allies were they're going to invade from the south. And so the Germans didn't have as good of a defense in the north as they could have had otherwise, because they weren't really sure what was happening.
And so in the meantime, the real General Monty is planning the invasion up north and kind of staying low, in other words.
Right. I mean, he's doing his thing, whatever, and then this other guy is doing his thing, and it's very confusing. Like, who's the real Monty? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. And where's he at? What's he doing? That would be quite confusing and a good counterintelligence move back in those days.
Absolutely, sure. They still do it. I mean, this has only become more sophisticated with time, and so another potential imposter replacement actually is Saddam Hussein, and actually
Saddam Hussein and
Kim Jong-il, because there's a doctor.
Peter is on the line, guys.
Oh, he is. All right.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello, Peter.
Can
How
you hear
are
me?
you?
I'm doing well, and good evening, Michael. I hope I'm not interrupting one of your guests. Good.
Well, Tina Foster is on the other line, but we were expecting you to call because I know your time is precious as well. So whatever you can impart to us would be wonderful.
Well, I thought I would share with your listeners, Michael, just a few of the reports that have arrived recently at the National UFO Reporting Center. Some of them are pretty interesting, and I just thought your audience might enjoy hearing some of the latest reports.
Oh, definitely. Every time that you call in, people are just waiting on bated breath of what's going on out there. So please, go ahead.
Well, let me start with a couple reports from past decades. I start with them principally because they're really interesting, and also I like to convey to every audience that I'm interested in reports from 8 decades ago as I am in reports from just 8 minutes ago. the one